This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so to our subject for today, how to host a highly profitable open house. This course is not being taught in isolation. It is part of a series of classes that we are teaching in the 1 year, 6 figures series. This is class material that I have developed and put together specifically to enable any agent who has the willingness to generate a 6-figure income within a 12-month period of time. I know because I see your numbers, that would be a raise for most of you. And we have agents doing multiple 6 figures now, a number of them that we're going to give awards to next week. But for most agents, a 6-figure income would be life-changing. Would you agree? For some of you? And I want to say it is so close, you could just reach out and touch it. If you, and I want to say so easy. I don't mean there's not a lot of hard work, but what I mean is it's not unattainable. It is within the reach of everybody in this room. Specifically, we've identified 4 core sources of business: GeoFarm, open house, online leads, and sphere of influence. Those 4 sources of business alone will generate in excess of 6 figures for everybody who implements the strategies that we teach consistently. And there are few sources among the 4. Open house will probably generate the fastest results. So anybody who has a rent payment coming due or a cable bill, this is the place to start. You can jump in on open house with very little advanced preparation. There is some, and I'm going to go through it in detail. But you can be hosting open houses this weekend that generate business for you. So I appreciate the fact that you guys have logged on and come in to join us live today, because this information can be career changing and the income can be life changing. So the toggle never wants to work at first. How many of y'all ever heard of Samuel Clemens? Oh, there's a few. How many of you heard of Mark Twain? All right, Samuel Clemens was his real name. Mark Twain was his pen name. Mark Twain is probably one of my favorite writers of all time. Lived in the 1800s. At one time, he was on a speaking tour in England when he received word that the newspapers in America had reported his untimely demise. He had died while touring through Europe. He was amused by that report, and he simply cabled back to the newspapers in America, "Reports of my demise have been greatly exaggerated. I'm not dead." The reason I have put Mark Twain on the screen right now is that we could say the same thing of open houses. Reports of their demise have been greatly exaggerated. And I stress that because I have heard more agents say, "Oh, I don't do open houses. I'm just wasting my time. I'm just sitting around when I could be doing something productive. Nobody comes, and if they come, they're just looky-loos, or they're neighbors looking for decorating ideas, or they're a real buyer, but they already have an agent. So why am I going to waste my time and show them the house when their agent could just schedule a showing?" You will hear this kind of complaint even from top producing agents. They have so much business coming in from elsewhere that they've shoved open house to the dustbin of history. They're no longer working them. I want to say reports of the demise of open houses are greatly exaggerated. I think they are an incredible source of business. And I'll say right now, November of 2020, they are more effective and more powerful than they have been in at least 10 years. Somebody tell me why that's true. Oh, you can do them virtually. Yep, you can. I'm not going to talk much about virtual open houses today because I want you live and in person, but yes, that's an option. Why are open houses more effective right now than ever before, at least in the last 10 years in Houston, Texas? Because we're in a buying frenzy. Have you noticed? I don't even list and sell anymore. But my mama asked me to sell her house. How much money you think I'm going to make on that? Nothing. Okay. It's all right. She gave me birth 60 years ago. I guess I can owe her a freebie and sell her house. I put it on the market a week ago, last Tuesday at noon. If you know anything about strategy, you never start a new listing on a Tuesday. When do you input your new listings? Thursday is the ideal day. This has been statistically proven. You'll sell it faster. You'll sell it for more money. Hits the MLS on Thursday. The buyer's agents and the buyers find it on Friday. They schedule it on the weekend. But I'm not getting paid on this one, right? We're ready at Tuesday at noon. It goes on the market. In the first 3 hours, we have 3 showings. And we get a full price, no, over full price cash offer at 4:30. Well, thank you. Now we know why. Teresa did it. Okay. And here's the funny thing. My list price was $20,000 over the comps. I told my mom we're never going to sell it for this, but we may meet somewhere. The comps are trailing, right? That's historical. We're in a rising market. Comps were 275. I said we'll end up somewhere in the mid 280s. We listed at 299.9, got a full price cash offer, 2-week close at 300,000 even. Okay, in 4.5 hours after going on the market. My point is, we are in a seller's market. Sellers are in control right now, and buyers are in a frenzy because there is a shortage of inventory. There has been since May, when we got past the initial COVID shock and the buyers came pouring into the market. Sellers were taking their homes off the market. The law of supply and demand quickly showed that there was not enough housing to meet the demand, and prices have been going up, and buyers have been competing. Almost every listing that's reasonably priced in a good school zone in a good neighborhood right now is getting multiple offers and selling above list price. We have not seen that in the last 10 years. That means if you host an open house right now, select it properly, price it properly, promote it properly, you can expect 10, 15, 20 plus people to show up at that open house. And I had one agent tell me a month ago, he had over 40 people show up at an open house. That's not unheard of right now. The demand is still there. So hosting open houses. If I was growing a real estate business right now, as most of you are in this room, in other words, I'm here, but I want to go here. I have aspirations that go beyond my current experience. I would be hosting an open house every Saturday and every Sunday. There's just no way you could keep me from doing that. When I was growing my business, that's exactly what I did. And I would certainly do it now in a market where buyers are in such a frenzy, such a desperate state to find property. So here's a quick overview of where we're headed today, the open house strategy that I'm going to teach you and recommend for your use. Select the right home, recruiting agents to host your listings, promotion, seller checklist, signage, resource checklist, refreshments, setup, conversation plan, wrapping up, following up, and safety plan. And I'm actually going to weave the safety throughout, so it's not really a separate section, but I'm going to address it as we go. So let's jump right in. The selection of your open house is critical to your success. There are certain homes that will generate far more traffic than others. And I think one of the key reasons why some agents get a bad taste in their mouth in regard to open houses is they chose the wrong one to host open. They got very poor results, and they just wrote it off to the source of business, open house, as opposed to their selection of which home to host open. So I'm going to ask you a question and see who can get it right. Where would be the best place to host an open house? In your geo farm? How did you all know that? In your geo farm. That is, if you follow my geo farm strategy, your neighborhood. It's the neighborhood that you live in right now, the neighborhood where you own a home right now. That's where you should be hosting your open houses. Now, those of you who've attended my geofarming classes, why is that the case? Why your geofarm? Get your name out there. Your name's already out there, right? But because you're marketing to your geofarm, you're sending the postcards, the emails, the mass text messages, you're going door to door twice a year, you're organizing community events twice a year, but now you're layering on top of that all of your marketing and promotion efforts for the open house. And there's this cumulative effect when people see your name over and over and over and over in a concentrated area. They make the presumption you own that area. You own that neighborhood, even if you've never sold a home there. You create that impression. And I'm not just making this up. Several years ago, there was a real estate marketing company that went into a neighborhood in California that was dominated by 3 or 4 power agents. And they literally made up an agent. They made up a name, hired a model to take pictures, and they started marketing that neighborhood with emails, text messages, postcards for a 3-month period. At the end of 3 months, they surveyed the people in the neighborhood. If you were to list your home today, who would be the first agent that you would contact to get information? Well, guess who the #1 agent was? The fictitious agent that this marketing company had used to market to the neighborhood for 3 months in a row. If they can do that with an agent that does not even exist, you can do that in your living, breathing flesh. You can do that. So marketing to your geofarm with your open house promotionals is going to magnify the results you get from your geofarm. Does that make sense? Now, if you've been following my geofarm strategy for a while, you now have multiple listings in your own neighborhood. How many of them can you hold open on a weekend? At least 2, right? But only once if you have 2. So what I'm going to suggest is that as a listing agent, you enlist the help of other agents to host your homes open. And that way you can have yours open every weekend. You'll find that as your production grows, you personally may not be able to host open houses because you've got out-of-town buyers coming in every weekend, or your local buyers who are only available on the weekend. You're going to need to enlist other agents to show your homes. I'm going to give you a strategy in just a moment to make it highly attractive for other agents to host your homes open. Before I get there, I want to make one more comment about your geofarm. If you're farming your geofarm and you do not have any listings yet in your neighborhood, what could you do to host an open house this weekend? Call who? Call the listing agents of the active listings in your neighborhood. Might be a Keller Williams, a Remax, a Coldwell Banker, or whatever. Call them and simply say, hey, I saw your new listing on 123 Elm. I live a block away in the same neighborhood, and I would love to help you sell that home. What did you just do? You got their attention. You framed it in words that made it attractive to them. You put it in words that will benefit them. I want to help you sell that home. It would be so easy for me to host an open this Saturday or Sunday. Would that be okay with your seller? Not is it okay with you? Is it okay with the seller? Because again, it's the seller who's the ultimate client. And they might think, well, I was going to sell it myself. I'd like to double end it. But when you put it in terms of the seller, oh yeah, I am responsible for getting this home sold for the benefit of my client. 80% of the time, they will receive that request positively. Every once in a while, I'll hear of brokerages who tell their agents you're not allowed to do that. It's rare, but they're out there. And then sometimes the listing agent themselves will be uncomfortable. Well, I don't know you. You might go in there and steal all the prescription medication. But the vast majority of time, they will be very grateful for that opportunity, especially if they're a big listing agent, because they don't have time to host all their homes open, and many of their sellers are asking for that. So don't hesitate to call the listing agents from other companies if they're in your geo farm, in your neighborhood. So now, if you're that big listing agent and you need to recruit others, I'm going to share with you what I did. When I had a large listing inventory and I wanted them held open, I would ask other agents in my office to host, but I wanted to make it very worthwhile to them financially. So here's what I offered to them. If unrepresented buyers come to the open house, they belong to the hosting agent as his or her prospects. That makes sense, right? And that's normal. You're going to get that at every open house, but not all agents know that. So just recognize it. Unrepresented buyer comes in, you're hosting, even if you're not the listing agent, that's your client. That's your opportunity for compensation. But here's what I did that went beyond normal and made sure I always had a stable of agents ready to host my homes. If a represented buyer came in, somebody who has an agent, they see the home for the first time at the open house and then purchase the home, the hosting agent will receive a 25% referral fee from the listing commission. So unrepresented buyer buys it, you get the full commission, you represent them. A represented buyer buys it, I'm going to pay you a 25% referral fee. It almost guarantees they're going to make some money. Nah, guarantee is too strong. It dramatically increases the odds, the chances that they're going to get paid for hosting that open. And I freely, gladly paid those referral commissions because they helped me sell the home. So what if you don't have a geo farm? And I am speaking to a few of you right now, aren't I? Either you're renting, living with your parents, living with a friend, you don't own it, you don't intend to live there long term, then my counsel to you is don't farm it. Wait until you own a home in the neighborhood. The alternative there, if you've been following me on these 1-year 6-figure classes, is if you don't have a geo farm, you should have a what kind of farm? A demo farm, a demographic farm. So everybody can have a farm of one type or another. But what if you don't have a geo farm and you're having to select a listing to host open? Maybe within your neighborhood, there's several options with different listing brokers. How do you choose the right one to host? Here's 8 characteristics that I'm going to suggest. Number 1, affordable. What's affordable in our market? It's a moving target. It's actually moving up, but 250,000 is really about the midpoint. I'd say anything 200 to 350, 375. If you're in the Woodlands, that should be pushed up to about 475. Because Woodlands is about $100,000 over the midpoint for the surrounding areas. But you want to be in the sweet spot where most buyers are buying. The lower the price range you go, the more traffic you're typically going to get. And we do have some new homes being built in Montgomery County in about the $175,000, $180,000 range. If you could host open some of those builder specs, probably get a ton of traffic. Number 2, great curb appeal. Don't try to host an open house that's got the shutters falling off, the grass growing over the sidewalk. People who are excited to go see it will pull up to the curb and then leave. In fact, NAR did a study recently. I'm sorry, it wasn't the NAR. It was Hanley Wood, which is a third-party company every year that creates a report showing you the return on investment for improvements to the home. I referenced this a few weeks ago in one of my classes. They've determined that investments in curb appeal return the highest amount of money than any other improvement to the home. More than a kitchen and bath remodel, more than new countertops, more than new flooring. Anything you can do, refinish the front door, freshen the mulch, get the shrubs trimmed, that's going to pay off dramatically in your final sale price. So that's why, as a listing agent, I would always say to my sellers, I'm going to invest my money up front to assure that your home shows beautifully and sells quickly. Let's talk about what you need the most to do that. And most typically, it was a landscape refresh. And I'd call my landscaper, he'd come over, bring in fresh mulch, he'd trim up everything, he'd mow, he'd edge, he'd get it looking good from a landscaping perspective. Generally cost me about 175 bucks. Not big money, but it made a big impression on the seller and a big impression on the number of showings we got. So curb appeal is critically important. You want one that looks and smells good on the inside, because it does no good if the curb appeal draws them in and then they're grossed out when they walk in. Okay, look good, smell good. That means it's been properly updated. It's been brought to community standard in terms of the finishes on the inside. You'll get better success if it's newer on the market. The exact same home that's been on the market 2 weeks will get more traffic than one that's been on the market 2 months. People will assume it's stale as the days on market grow. So if you have an option, pick the newer one. One that's easily found, a home that's easily found. This is a critical mistake many agents make. They'll pick a home in the back of the neighborhood that takes 16 turns to get to, and they only had 4 directional signs, so people are lost. They don't know how to find it. I can't tell you the number of times I've been in that situation as a buyer trying to find an open house and just get lost. So if you can be 1 or 2 turns off the main road, off the entrance to the neighborhood, that's ideal. And if you have to go back in the neighborhood, make sure that you have enough directional signs for every required turn, so that nobody has to guess about where it's at, that they're led back there directly. This is especially important if you're in a newer neighborhood, because those streets often are not in people's GPS systems. So make sure you make it easy. Directional signs permitted. Some neighborhoods don't allow them. You're going to see as I get into this a little bit deeper, I think your directional signage may be the single most important part of your promotional strategy. So if you're in a place like the Woodlands that severely restricts it, you're going to have less traffic. If you're in a neighborhood that doesn't care, you're going to get more traffic. So if you have a choice, select the more traffic option. Number 7, builder models in the neighborhood. I cannot stress how important this is. If the neighborhood is relatively new, there are still builders in the neighborhood. You know what those builders are going to do for you? Take all your clients. Just the opposite. You're going to take their clients. They're going to bring people to the neighborhood, right? They're marketing their models. They've got sales staff on site. They've got signage everywhere drawing people in. And you are going to have an open house directional within view of the model home, so that as people come in to go to the models, they say, oh, well, there's one that's open, and they follow your signs all the way back. You will get dramatically better results in a new home neighborhood where the builder's actively promoting the neighborhood. So look for those opportunities. And then, as I mentioned earlier, builder inventory homes. Those are great. The builder themselves, if they're sitting on inventory, which doesn't really happen right now, but in a more normal market, a stabilized market, they are anxious to sell that. They'll be happy to have you sit there, pick up unrepresented buyers, and make a commission on the sale of the home. So that's if you don't have a geo farm and you're just looking on the open market, these are the characteristics that you want in an open house in terms of selection. Now let's talk about promotion. We've identified the home we're going to hold open. Meets all these criteria. Number 1, it's in OGR geo farm. If it's not, it meets the other criteria. How are we going to get people to show up? Number 1, you do want to run a Facebook ad. You don't have to spend a fortune, but you have to plan for this, because Facebook ads take about 2 days to be approved and to actually start running. So if you're doing an open house on Saturday and you get this great idea on Wednesday to run a Facebook ad, it's not even going to hit until Friday or Saturday, probably too late. So you want to start this a full week in advance. If you're going to run a Saturday open house, you want to start your ad the previous Saturday, a full week in advance. That way you'll take 2 days to get it approved. It'll have 5 days to run before your open house is actually held. And that's what you want. You want people seeing it during the week so that they put it on their showing schedule for the weekend. You want to do this on your business page so you can boost it. And just start with $10. You don't have to, spend your rent check. Just put a few dollars behind it, see what kind of results you get, and then you can boost it further if you feel like you're getting a really good return. Facebook no longer allows us to do demographic targeting on Facebook ads. They stopped that about a year ago. Used to, we could choose people in the right age range, in the right income range, the right family makeup range to be an ideal prospect for this home. Now, when you truthfully tell Facebook that this is a real estate ad, they will remove all demographic targeting and only give you the ability to determine the geographic range in which the ad will be shown. And the minimum is 15 miles. But select the minimum, and they'll promote it to everybody with a Facebook account within 15 miles up to the limit of your budget. Okay? Then share it to your personal page about 3 days before the open house. So now you've got your ad running, blasting out from your business page. Now you put it on your personal page and you have satisfied Facebook promotion. Any questions about that? By the way, those of you who are writing, I love the notes. I'm going to put all these slides on Backagent, and I meant to do it already, but all of our others in this series are already on Backagent, and I will add this to the 1 year 6 figures folder. So you'll have, because I'm going to give you tons and tons of data today and checklists for various things that would just be way too laborious to write down. Number 2, under promotion, time sign. Time sign's what you put in the yard. It says open house this Sunday 2 to 4, something of that nature. You want to place that in the yard about 3 days prior to the open house. That will pick up anybody driving the neighborhood, scouting it out, or maybe on a Thursday or Friday. They say, oh, there's going to be an open house on Sunday. They'll make a note to come back. I would encourage you, make sure that you have a contact phone number on your main sign panel or a rider, because they may not want to wait till Sunday. Maybe they're leaving town, and that way they can call you right then to schedule a private showing. It's okay to buy a bunch of these signs and leave a couple of them with the seller. For example, you can have a Saturday, open Saturday 2 to 4, open Sunday 12 to 2, something like that. Buy a bunch of these and leave them. That way you can just coordinate with the seller when you're going to host the open house, and they can go put it in the yard 3 days prior to the open house. In this business, as you grow and become more productive, you have to find efficiencies. You cannot be running all over town all the time for little stuff like this. I did the same thing with my property flyers, the stuff that you put in the box that's hanging on the sign. I would print off 100 of them, put maybe 10 in the box and 90 in the house, in the kitchen. And I would tell the seller, hey, just monitor the flyer box. And as you see, they're almost empty, refill it with just 10 or 15. Why wouldn't I tell them to stuff all of them in there? They do tend to get damaged. What damages them? Rain, or water sprinklers in the yard, or a windstorm, or your competition, or somebody, they were in there so tight they couldn't get one, so they just pulled them all and threw the rest on the ground. Has that ever happened? Oh, yes. Those flyers are very vulnerable. So just keep most of them in the house. Get your seller involved in helping you. They'll appreciate it. They'll feel like they're doing something with these signs and the flyers, and feel like they're part of the process. Number 3, deliver open house invitations. So if your open house is at 2 o'clock, I'd recommend you be there about 12:30 and spend an hour going door to door to the nearest 50 houses, handing out an invitation to the open house. Have all the details on there, almost like an open house or like a property flyer with all the details. And you can even, some agents have even hosted like a 30-minute neighbors preview before it opens to the public. If you're going to do that, you probably want to saturate the entire neighborhood. But deliver these invitations. If you're not scary looking, you could even knock on the door. I leave that to your personal discretion, okay? Me, I rarely knocked on doors, but when I did, I was always branded, and I literally carried one of my sign panels with me, like a giant business card, to say, hey, I'm safe. Okay, I'm a realtor. That's why I'm here at your door. Some of you ladies don't look as scary as me. You probably will be just fine. But just keep in mind, you want them to open the door and talk to you. And so position yourself to make them comfortable opening the door. And typically you're going to do that by making it plain who you are. Even if you just leave the flyers, in the course of knocking on 50 doors, you're going to talk to several people. In the course of handing out 50 flyers, even if you never knock on a door, even if you're just rolling them up and sticking them under the door handle or hanging them on a plastic bag, you are going to talk to people, because people are going to be working in the yard, they're going to be out in the garage, they're going to be going to the car on the way to Walmart, that kind of stuff. And in the course of that, you can just hand them the flyer, tell them you're hosting an open house, would love for them to swing by. And I promise you, if you have just a few of those conversations, you're going to turn up some real estate prospects. And I'm speaking from actual experience saying this, because we know statistically 1 out of 7 homeowners is going to move this year. Did you know that? And if they're going to move sometime this year, there's a good chance they already know it. You know, my son, who's in the Air Force, is going to be moving to Wichita Falls next August. He's already been informed of that. He already knows, he knew a year in advance he was going to be moving. So as you walk around the neighborhood and you're inviting people, if they have a current or an impending real estate need, they're likely to say something about it. Say, hey, we're probably going to have to sell our house in a few months. How is the market, they'll say. Or what do you think my home is worth? And you have the opportunity to make that connection, put them in your database, and then follow up appropriately. So if you can knock, do. If you don't have time to knock or don't feel comfortable knocking in that neighborhood, still look for the face-to-face opportunities. Number 4, this is under promotion, call your buyer prospects. And if this is in your GeoFarm, and if you've been following our GeoFarm strategy, particularly involving the running of core property boost ads in that neighborhood consistently, twice a month, then you have a list of dozens and possibly hundreds of buyer prospects for your neighborhood. Remember, the typical $60 KV Core property boost ad, $60, will generate 12 buyer prospects. So that's a dozen every time. If you've been doing this twice a month for 6 months, you've got well over 100 buyer prospects. So call them up and give them a personal invitation to the open house. And I'm not doing GeoFarm strategy right now, but I just have to say again, that is one of the most powerful marketing tools I've ever encountered in my entire career, particularly for getting new listings. Imagine now you've been doing this twice a month KV Core property boost in your GeoFarm. Let's say you've been doing it for 3 months. That's 6 times 12, 60, 72. Yes, 72. So now you go in on a listing conversation in your GeoFarm, and among everything else that you say, which sounds a lot like what everybody else is saying, you also say this: Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I also have 72 buyer prospects who have expressed interest in purchasing in this neighborhood in the last 90 days. Have you just set yourself apart from every other agent who goes in there? Very, very powerful. Now, the ultimate home seller's checklist. We're talking about preparing the home for the open house. We've selected it, we've promoted it. Now we're going to prepare it. So what you want to share with your sellers is that in order to get the most impact from this open house, we have to think model home. And most of them will know what you mean when you say that. And if not, walk them through it. Have you been to a builder's model home recently? You'll notice countertops are clean. There may be a piece of artwork, but you're not going to see the juicer. You're not going to see the toaster. When you go in the bathroom, you're not going to see the electric toothbrush. The lid is going to be down. You basically remove personal items or put them away as if nobody actually lives in the home. Now, if people actually live in the home, is that possible? Not really. But that's the ideal. We have to have a goal in mind of where we're headed. And if you can just portray that for them, think model home, sparkling clean, minimalist furnishing, not over decorated, personal pictures and paraphernalia and trophies and ribbons and vacation, all that stuff. And tell your sellers, you're going to be moving. You're going to have to pack this stuff anyway. So just go ahead and pack it now and put it in the garage. Buyers are not offended by boxes in a garage. They might be put off if boxes are stacked up in the master bedroom and in the kitchen, so they can't really get a sense of it, but they're never offended by boxes in the garage. So the look we're going for is model home. And then here's the actual list that I give them. Again, you can't write this down, but I'm going to post these slides. And also, when we publish the book, it's all going to be in there. But remove and secure valuables, firearms, and prescription medications, either a hazard or a burglary risk. Remove and secure any bills or personal papers that could be used in identity theft. It's terrible we have to say this kind of stuff, but we do. Many homes, they've got something on the wall, or they have a work desk that's got all their bills piled up. Clean that off, secure that stuff. Remove all signs that pets live in the home, including the pets themselves. Okay, don't leave Fido's big honking bowl in the kitchen. Or worse, don't leave the cat box in the utility room. People who don't have cats don't like cats, or they're allergic to cats. They are offended by cats. So take the cat and hide the evidence. Take the dog bowls and the water, put all that in the garage. And then take the dog, tell the sellers, make arrangements to take the pets with you when you leave. Even though some people love pets, if they love pets, they have pets. If they don't have pets, it's because they probably don't like them. And they don't want to move into a home that has pet filth. And that's exactly how they'll think of it. If they're not a pet person, they think, nasty, okay? There may be truth in that. Clear all countertops, empty trash cans, flush toilets, close lids, make the beds, declutter to the garage, vacuum, dust, and clean the house, open all drapes and curtains, light and bright. And I'm surprised we still have to tell sellers that these days, but we do. This is for every showing. Light and bright, open the blinds, push the drapes and curtains back. Turn on all the lights. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, if you don't want to do that, I'll do it when I get there. Heat or cool the home to a comfortable temperature. This is not the time to save money. Many people, they suffer through the summer in Houston because they don't want to spend the money on their electric bill, or they can't. That's all right. We're going to crank it up for the open house. We want people to be comfortable. Mow and trim the yard and landscaping, pressure wash driveway, walkways, patios, decks, refresh the mulch. Leave the house. Do you believe we have to tell sellers that? Some of them think that they want to be the tour guide, and the buyers will really appreciate that. So we have to educate them. No, the buyers don't want to hear your personal stories. You please just leave and let them explore their home on their own. I'll be their professional guide if needed. If the home has a sound system, turn on pleasant instrumental music like light jazz, something like that, okay? What about stinky houses? Do they exist? I was reading something over the weekend. A guy who was a contractor went in houses. I don't know if he installed cable systems or whatever. He said about 30% of homes are nasty, and 10% are pathologically disgusting. 10%, think about that. 10% that you just feel like you need a shower when you walk out of them. So chances are, if you haven't yet, you're going to come across these houses. What do you do about them? So professional carpet and furniture cleaning can remove deep odors, and that might be a thing that you pay for as a listing agent, if that's what's going to make the difference. Have the tough conversation about the consequences of smoking in the house while it's on the market. And they may say, it's my house, I'm going to smoke in my house, I'm a free citizen of the United States of America. Yes, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you absolutely can. I just want you to understand the consequences of doing that. Remember, we're the consultant, they're the decision maker. We don't tell them what to do, but we give them the options and we inform them of the likely consequences of each of the options, and then we let them make the decision. Candles and plugins can help, but many people are allergic to artificial scents. So they might, choke, literally they can't breathe. So that's not always a great solution. This is a good solution. If it's got pet odors or smoke odors, use an ozone generator machine in unoccupied homes. Has anybody ever done that? Suzanne? Yes, Tommy? I have had great success. I had a home that was so stinky from the dogs, several big dogs in the house, and they'd had a fire in the attic. So we had both. We had fire smoke and we had pet smell. But fortunately, the sellers moved out, and I was able to put my ozone generator in there. I was able to do it for an entire weekend. Normally, you just do it for 4 to 6 hours. I did it for an entire weekend. You couldn't tell on Monday. It was amazing. By the way, our office has an ozone generator. That same one I used for that stinky house, we have it. We keep it upstairs. If you get a stinky house, don't go buy one. You can borrow ours. You cannot use it where there are pets or people present. It does a funky thing with the air that's harmful. So they either have to leave the house while you're doing it, or if it's vacant and unoccupied, that's ideal. Then you can just run it for a couple days and it really does the job. Okay, ozone generator. And then Febreze, it's awesome. In fact, I'm going to show you on your kit that you have that you take with you. You should always have a spray bottle of Febreze in there, and just liberally after the sellers leave, you spray everything down. It'll at least get you through the open house. All right. Is all that too much to ask of the sellers? And I'm really talking about this list right here. That's a big list, right? Like, gosh, it's going to take us a week. It's going to take us 2. Well, you know what? They are going to be doing almost all of those things to get the home ready to go on the market. And now that it's on the market, they're doing that for every showing. Once a listing goes active, it's not the seller's home anymore. It's the potential buyers. And you're going to have this conversation with your sellers to set the expectations. Your home right now is somewhere else. It's where you're moving to. We need to prepare this home for the family that's moving into it. So yes, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be a little stressful. You can't just, come home and throw everything everywhere and leave the clean clothes piled up because we're going to fold them on Thursday. You got to put the roach spray away, okay? And I've seen this stuff. Everything I tell you, I have actually seen. Roach spray right on the counter, okay? Oh, got roaches. Well, thanks. That's full disclosure, okay? So it is not too much to ask if you properly set expectations. And particularly when these are your own listings, those expectations should have been set at the listing conversation. Okay, I always distributed, in fact, I think we've put these on Back Agent. I always had a my job and your job list. And at the listing conversation, I showed them everything I'm going to do. And then I said, and then here's your role. Here's everything you need to do. And it was these type items to get the home ready to sell. So let's talk about signage. We selected it, promoted it, prepared it. My conviction is that open house directional signs are one of the most powerful business building signs ever invented. Most agents are completely unaware of the power of directional signs to build their brand and create the impression in the neighborhood that they own the neighborhood. So think about the power of this, particularly if it is your geo farm. So they're already they're being saturated with your marketing all year long. And now every Saturday and every Sunday in that neighborhood, they see every major intersection with one of your directional signs and your pretty face and your name and your phone number pointing back to an open house that you're hosting. It is a powerful saturation marketing technique that will enable you to capture that top of mind position in less than 90 days, even if you've never sold a home in the neighborhood. So I recommend you buy these things in large quantities and put them to good use. And you are not going to spend a lot of money. At House of Magnets, you can buy 10 Abby branded with your photo for $100. And these are not the little tiny skinny ones that say open house arrow. These are big. They're like 24 by 24 square for $10 a piece. So spend $100. Once you get going, spend another 100. Get 10 or 20 or 30 of these in your arsenal. And what you're going to do, as I mentioned earlier, is put them on every corner from the main road, starting at the entrance into the neighborhood. If there's 2 entrances, you're going to have to double this. Anywhere where people might come into the neighborhood, and you lead them turn by turn right back to your house. I've often said that the use of directional signage is so powerful that if you just put out the signage every Saturday and Sunday, you wouldn't have to host the open house. That was a joke. You got to host the open house, right? You got to. But the point is, you're getting the value before the open house even starts, because it's the other 400 homeowners in the neighborhood who are being saturated with the message that nobody knows or cares or sells more in your neighborhood than you. And it doesn't matter if you've never sold a home. You're going to get that top of mind awareness and that perception of being the top producer through your signage. Now, next level, adding helium balloons to your directional signs dramatically increases their visibility. And I would suggest, because you're doing this every weekend, invest $50 and get your own helium tank. And then just pay a few dollars to get it refilled every few months when you need to. But if you'll attach 1 or 2 of these helium balloons to each of your directional signs, you will dramatically increase their visibility for almost no cost. Balloons are probably 10 cents a piece, and the helium less than that once you buy the $50 tank. And you can just go on Amazon, order that tank, and probably be delivered by about 2 o'clock this afternoon. Okay, so that takes it to another level. But we're not done yet. There are many other signage options that can draw attention to your open house, and I have used all of them. The vinyl banner sign at the entrance to the neighborhood, and I had a big one. It was about 10 feet wide, and I would simply take my stakes, those little fencing stakes that you can buy at the hardware store, and drive them in the ground, and then use the little zip ties, because my vinyl banner had the metal grommets in it, and just stretch it out. Open house, Saturday, 10 to 2. Open house with an arrow pointing in. That was one. A windshield sign, and I purchased mine at HAR. They got tons of great open house marketing materials at the HAR store. And it simply said open house, and I would put it over the windshield of my truck and then park that in front of the house so nobody could drive by without seeing the message again. Open house letter signs, like you'll see in the photo on the left. Each one of those letters is a different sign. You can put it out in the front yard. It's like you're decorating for Halloween or you're decorating for Christmas. It creates a festive atmosphere, especially if you put some balloons on them, or like they've done here, some little arrows pointing down the walkway to the front door. And then banner flags. Now, I personally hate banner flags. I think they're the death of a commercial district if every store's got banner flags out in front. But when you're hosting an open house, you want to create the impression that everybody is welcome. Come on in, we're throwing a party. We got balloons, we got banner flags, we've got directional arrows. Come on in. All of these things will create a cumulative effect to say, we want you to come look at this house. Even if you're not buying, even if you're just thinking about it, even if you're just looking for decorating ideas, you are welcome. So invest money in this. And I'm very protective of your money. I don't encourage you to spend money on a lot of stuff, but you ought to have an open house kit that includes all these things. You put all of them in a couple plastic bins, so that when it's time for your open house, you just throw them in the back of the car or the truck and go. Kind of like if any of you are campers, you probably have some camping bins with all your stuff, so it doesn't turn into a big fancy deal every time you're ready to go camping. Same thing with your open house. Resource checklist. This is the stuff that you need to bring with you. This is what's going to go in your plastic bins. And again, these lists are going to all be on Back Agent. And I have several different lists for you. First of all, tools. Your property flyers. When people walk in, you want to be able to hand them a property flyer, which gives them all the information on the property. Now, by contrast, if you're using the KV Core Open House app, and I strongly recommend it, when they register on the app, it will immediately take them to a property flyer on the hosted property directly from the MLS. It's direct connect to the MLS. So if you're a millennial or just wanting to be high tech, use that app. But have some paper printouts for those who don't want to do it electronically. Have a quick CMA showing the home's market value. And hopefully that's going to demonstrate a value above the list price. If it doesn't, then don't display it. 4, blank contract forms. The offer contract, the buyer-tenant representation agreement, the IABS, and the intermediary notice. Because it's possible that one of these buyers, particularly right now in today's frenzied market, they'll want to make an offer on the spot. And you don't want to be in a position like, I normally do this online with .loop, but we don't have a good internet connection. No, have your backup right there, ready to rock and roll. And then a laptop computer with an internet connection. This is one of the things you want to check with the seller before they go. Get the login and password so you can be on their Wi-Fi. If that's not a possibility, make sure that you have a service plan on your cell phone that allows you to create a hotspot, because you absolutely must be online with your laptop during this open house. There are several things you can be doing. First of all, you can be playing soft music through your computer if they don't have a sound system in the home. But then you also want to bring up on the computer the MLS listing on the home while it's there, while people are going through it. That way, if they do ask a question, which you've forgotten, what are the dimensions on bedroom number 3? You've got the information right there. Most importantly, and you're going to see this when we get to the conversation plan, you're going to use your connected computer to connect with those buyers. And I'm going to show you how to do that. But I'm going to give you dialogue to draw them right in to see the value of working with you because of what you can pull up on that screen in just a few seconds. We'll get to that. More tools. Your personal brochures. These are your 11 by 17s. It's got your abbreviated letter from the heart, your education, credentials, all those courses you took to get your real estate license, a few pictures of your family members holding your yard sign panel on a sold writer because you haven't actually sold a house yet, and then your seller marketing plan on the back. You want copies of that there. You want to promote yourself as well as the home. Business cards. Thank you cards with stamped envelopes. So I'll get into that, but take some with you. A bottle of Febreze to neutralize the unpleasant odors. A tube of graphite to open sticky locks. By the way, that's a high-level suggestion. If you've ever been showing homes and you can't get the key to turn in the lock, and you've had to leave and go to the hardware store because that's the home your buyers really wanted to see and come, yes, I'm telling a personal story. This actually happened to me. Now I carry graphite with me. It's a little tube, smaller than a mini toothpaste. And you just keep it in your realtor kit that you keep in your car. You know, it's got your tape measure or your electronic measuring device, all those, your little dustpan and broom. Every one of you should have a little kit like this in your trunk right now for when you're showing homes or listing homes. And that little tube of graphite will save you so much grief. You don't want to be the realtor to snap the key off in the lock because it was stiff. And that happens every single day. So just get a little tube of graphite, squirt it in there. Mini broom and dustpan to sweep up crumbs and critters. Yep, the seller thought they cleaned it up. They left, you walk in the kitchen, there's a big old roach laying on its back, just twitching, okay? You don't want to grab that thing, get your little mini broom. You'll find all kinds of opportunities for this. So again, that should be in your regular realtor kit in your car as well. And then a display binder. And I'm going to show you a little bit more about that. If you're not using one of these, I highly recommend that you do. Sometimes it's called a presentation binder, but just a 3-ring binder that has a little extra flap that allows you to set it up so that clients can flip through it. And sometimes they'll lay flat, but they'll be not flat, but they lay open in the normal position, but they've got a little brace behind that puts them up at a viewing angle. But every open house, every listing that you take should have a display binder as part of what you put in the central part of the home, typically in the kitchen. But it should include an MLS printout for the property, the seller's disclosure, HOA addendum, MUD notice, any disclosures at all that relate to that property, a copy of the survey, contact info for home vendors such as the pool service company, landscaper, HVAC, the babysitter, the dog walker. It's very comforting to buyers to know that if they move into that home, they already have some of these service people who are familiar with the home, perhaps providing warranties on past service that they know who to call, and then info on neighborhood amenities and schools. Maybe you go to great schools and print off the report cards on the nearby elementary and middle school and high school, put them in there. Maybe information on local restaurants or shopping areas, just whatever makes that neighborhood special, put that information in the display binder. Again, if you're the listing agent, you've already done this. If you're a guest hosting agent, you want to do as much of this as possible. And if the listing agent hasn't provided it, it's probably going to be on the MLS under additional docs in terms of the property disclosures. So what about snacks? Very quick question. What do y'all do about snacks? Do you serve snacks at your open houses?
If the house is vacant.
If it's vacant, why only vacant?
Because you don't want people to call and stuff like that.
Yeah, okay, yeah. You don't want to stain their furniture or their, well, of course they can stain the furniture and carpet. You don't want to leave crumbs in a mess. Yep, absolutely. Anybody else? Okay, bottled water, packaged snacks. That was kind of my way of doing things, very minimalist. But you know, there are some agents who really go over the top with this, and it works for them. I've heard of ones that, you know, do margarita machines and mimosas, and sometimes have a live caterer on site. Obviously, that would depend upon the price point of the home and the likelihood of you selling it. But nevertheless, let me say that you should have something, even if it's bottled water and packaged snacks. It slows people down. Otherwise, they're going through and then back out the front door to their car. If it's a hot summer day, they're probably going to grab the bottled water. You know, if they got the munchies, they'll grab the snacks. So it slows them down long enough that you can use our conversation plan and get them into some dialogue. Be sure your snacks won't stain the furniture or carpets. Bottled waters are great in the summer. Now, I'm going to suggest you take it to another level when the property is appropriate. Consider serving food and drinks in a way that highlights a feature of the home. So if they've got a home theater, have a popcorn machine going. They may already have a popcorn machine. If not, you can borrow ours. We got one here at the office, seriously. Cocktails by the pool, hors d'oeuvres in the outdoor kitchen, coming off the outdoor range top, lemonade on the patio. Do something which highlights a feature of the home that you want to draw attention to, because people will go to that area for the snacks, or they'll linger for the snacks, and you can talk about what would be one of the best features of the home. All right, so getting set up. Getting set, you're going to the property. You're getting ready to host it open. I'm going to encourage you, when you arrive, walk through the home while reviewing the seller's checklist. Anything that they did not get done, you should get done. And if there's nasty trash cans, go ahead and empty them. If your toilets need to be flushed, flush them. Put the lids down. You know, I don't want you messing with their medications and stuff, but you know what I mean. If there's small things that you can do to get it in show-ready condition, do that. Unlock all the exterior doors, every single one of them. This is critically important. And leave them open if weather permits. If you can prop the front door open and the back door open, all the better. Open the backyard gate. This is very important, and very few agents do it. Then if obviously they have a dog running in the backyard, you can't. But if they don't, go unlatch the gate and swing it wide open. Why would we do that? Yes, Robert. Yeah, not if they have a pool, not if there's something that would cause a safety issue. What we're trying to do here is create a safety path for you. Because if you have to escape and you run in the backyard and then you can't get out of the backyard, you've defeated the purpose. So you want to open that gate in case you have to get away from somebody and get out of the backyard. Use your computer to play soft instrumental music if needed. Set up the display binder, MLS flyers, and refreshments in a prominent and accessible location. Open your computer to the MLS listing for the home and leave it displayed throughout the open house. And then put out your business cards next to the other display materials. Oh yes, there's more. If you're using a hard copy registration book, in other words, please sign here. Go ahead, open it to a fresh page, and then write in a couple fictitious buyers who would have already come through. And this is actually very important because people will do what others have done. And if they walk in and you hand them a blank page, they say, oh, nobody else is registered, I ain't registering. So they're going to follow the lead on that. And if they say, oh, well, everybody else is doing it, I guess I should too. So fill in a couple names and make them complete. Make sure they put in every bit of information that you want from the other actual guests. Open your KV Core Open House app to be ready to register guests. Please do not use your phone for that app. Have an iPad or other computer device available for them to do that, laptop or something like that, because you want to keep your phone with you and in your possession at all times. That again is a safety issue where you can call another agent with a safety word, you can call your spouse, you can call 911, but you don't want to be without your phone. Place your purse or other valuables in a secure location. Now, I can't tell you the number of times I've walked into an open house and see Delaney's purse right there on the top of the kitchen, the hosting agent's purse, just out there in the middle for anybody to take a look, okay? Put it under the kitchen cabinet, put it out of sight, put it in a secure location, and then place your keys and keychain pepper spray in your hand and keep them there throughout the open house. And this is not just a suggestion for men. Men are victims of realtor crimes and equal percentages with women. Now, it's usually a different kind of crime with men and women, but men are equally victims often enough. So I recommend, it's so natural to have your keys in your hand as a realtor. Nobody thinks that's odd. They don't feel, if you're carrying a 45 in your hand, they're going to think that's odd, okay? But I actually got a complaint. I got an actual Trek complaint last week about an Abbey agent who was visibly carrying a gun during showings, and the buyers felt intimidated by that, okay? If you're carrying, carry concealed, please. While you're on the job, keep it under wraps. But pepper spray, it's in your hand, okay? It doesn't scare anybody, particularly if it's all bejeweled like this, okay? But you want to know how to use that and have it at the ready if you need to use it. I'm actually, even though I love firearms, I used to be a firearms dealer, I've got quite the collection. If the zombie apocalypse ever happens, come to my house. I can hold them off for quite a while, okay? Having said all that, I do not recommend that realtors depend upon a firearm for safety. Because in these situations, when attacks happen, they happen suddenly. And you don't have opportunity to get something out of the bottom of your purse or out of an ankle holster or run out and get it out of the glove box in your car. You want something that is immediately, I mean within a microsecond, available to you. And that's why I say have that pepper spray on your keychain in your hand. Okay, it won't intimidate anybody, but it will provide great protection for you and enough time to get to a safe place. So my best safety tip, because realtors are vulnerable at open houses. What do you think my best safety tip is for you at an open house? Anybody want to guess? Situational awareness. Have a buddy. I'll come back to that. Anybody else? Know where you're at? Yeah, that's kind of having a buddy. Yeah, I just wanted to check in. All right, here are my options. Learn karate. Okay. Krav Maga. Grab their eyeballs and pull them out. Okay. Carry a gun. No, I already said, yeah, I don't mind you carrying one. I'm just saying, I don't think that's your best defense in the moment. Okay. Here it is. You guys were exactly right. Host with a partner. I really like the idea of people doubling up to host. And it could be you and a spouse. It could be you and a vendor partner. It could be you and another agent. It doesn't really matter. As long as you are there, you are the licensee, you can have anybody else there with you, whether they're licensed or not. That doesn't matter because you meet the background requirements of TREC, okay? But having a partner with you is highly recommended. I'm not saying I did that when I was hosting, but I'm saying I should have. And I recommend it for you. We just hear too many stories. And in Houston, it's about every 6 months. We'll hear stuff, you know, in HAR will send out bulletins and notices and tell us about this weirdo or this creep or this threat that came along. So just do your best to be situationally aware, be ready to protect yourself, but the best protection is to have someone else there with you if possible. Okay, here's our conversation plan. In other words, what do you say when somebody walks in the door? And I'm going to give you an extensive conversation plan here. So don't try to write all this down. I'm going to go through several slides. There's going to be lots of text. Don't be overwhelmed by that. Just kind of listen to the flow of how this goes. And all my scripts and dialogues are super simple and natural. They are the things you would actually say as a hosting agent. I'm not trying to get you to say weird things that make you sound like a used car salesman, okay? Very simple and natural. So as guests arrive, meet them at the door with a warm greeting. Welcome, my name is Susie with Abby Realty. Please come in. Can you do that? Okay, you're well on your way. If you can get that, you're going to be good. Once they're all inside, hand them a property flyer and invite them to sign the registry. Explain that the homeowner has asked that all guests sign the registry for safety reasons, right? And that makes sense, doesn't it? You got strangers going through your home. What if something comes up missing, okay? What if somebody comes back that night to burglarize the home because they scouted it during the day? We want to know who was in the home. So this is a legit request for safety reasons. Once they've signed, invite them to explore the home and let them know that you'll remain near the entrance so you can be available to answer any questions. Now, I may have just taken you in a completely different direction than you normally do. Tommy? Yes. I could go HGTV on you, right? This is the kitchen. This is the master bedroom. Let me tell you something. Your buyers know what room they're in. They don't need anybody telling them that. And if you follow them around the house, you are just going to make them uncomfortable. They want to explore on their own, but you want to let them know where to find you. I'll be right here. When you're done, come back. I'd love to get your feedback and answer any questions. There's a second reason we're not going to follow them around the house. Well, there's the third reason. Yeah, we want to be available to greet others. We also don't want them throwing us in a closet. Okay? That's how this stuff normally happens. is the realtor goes with the prospect to an isolated part of the home, whether it's a basement, the upstairs, the closet, some small confined space where they're able to overpower you. So you want to stay in the safest spot in the home. And that safest spot is right by the front door with a clear shot at the back door where the door's open and the gate's open, okay? So just always keep that in mind. But just say, hey, come on in. My name is Susie. Would you mind, the seller's requested, if you would register for safety reasons, appreciate it. Here's a property flyer. Go explore the home. I'll be right here. Circle back to me at the end. Be happy to answer any questions, okay? Was that the kind of natural thing that you could say? Doesn't sound salesy or pushy. So why stay near the door? We just talked about that. Boom. So when the guests have finished exploring the home, offer them refreshments, because you're typically going to have them in the kitchen area, which is right by the front door, all right there typically, and ask, hey, what did you think of the home? Again, it's a very natural, non-threatening question. If they respond enthusiastically with something like, oh, it's gorgeous, then follow up with, well, could you see yourself living here? Again, it's a very natural question. If they respond positively, yeah, I think we probably could. Well, what's your preferred timetable for moving into your new home? The answer to that is going to give you tons of information. They might say something like, oh, well, we're really not really thinking about moving. We just like to go out and look at homes on the weekend. And yeah, we can sure see ourselves living here, if we didn't have a 400 credit score. So ask what their timetable is. And by the way, whatever a buyer tells you, if they give you an actual number, cut it in half. If they say 6 months, they are most likely going to be moving in 3. They always extend the time. They don't do this to be deceitful, but they still perceive you as a salesperson, and they don't want to be pressured. So they're always going to extend the timeline so that you don't start seeing dollar signs and pounce on them. That's what they think is going to happen. And so therefore they're in defense mode. Then show them the comps. Remember, we brought the comps with us. It might have been a quick CMA, but we also had on there the property flyers or MLS printouts from other comparable properties. So if show them the comp, show them the value of the home, ask if they'll be paying cash or financing part of the purchase, and offer to draft the offer on their behalf. Well, as a matter of fact, Joe and Susie, I've got an offer document right here. I think you're very smart to go ahead and get in on this, because we're expecting multiple offers by the end of the day. You're going to be the first in line. Okay, let's write it up. So that's if they show enthusiasm and they're on a short time frame and want to move forward. Now, here are the magic words. And I mentioned earlier, I was going to tell you how connecting with your computer will help you connect with your buyer prospects. And this strategy right here is what made me more money on open houses than anything else. When people actually got there, had to select right, promote right, prepare right. But when they actually came into the home and I had opportunity to talk to them, this was what enabled me to bond with them and enter into a relationship to represent them on their sale or purchase or both. So if they respond with reservations such as, well, it's nice, but not exactly what we're looking for. Do people ever say that at an open house, right? That's the more typical, because again, they're playing defense. Or no, we don't really care for it all. And maybe they'll tell you why. The backyard's too small. We want a master bedroom on the first floor, whatever it is. Then you say, I understand. Can you give me a better sense of what you're looking for? And let them describe it. Then after they explain, say this. These are the magic words. As a professional realtor, I have access to every home on the market, not just those which are hosting open houses today. Let me take a quick look on my computer and see if there's something available that would be a better fit for you. You've already got the connection established. You're already at har.com because you've been displaying this property listing, and you simply open up the search feature and put in the criteria that they're looking for. If they're unrepresented buyers, almost every time they're going to be blown away by this and be very appreciative of it. So you simply say, oh, you wanted 4 bedrooms, you want master down, and your price range is, and then push the button, say, well, you know what? It looks like there's 10 homes currently on the market that are a better fit for you than this one. When would you be available to go see them? How easy is that? But that's the help that they need, because let me say this, buyers don't see a lot of value in real estate agents. They think we're pretty cookie cutter, we're overpaid, we don't do much to earn our money, but there's one thing that we do that they see value in from the very beginning. What is that? The what? Not just the MLS, it's that super key. We hold the magic key that opens the doors to the houses they want to see. That's what they see value in. That's how they value us. And so if we're offering to provide that value, hey, I found 8 that look like they'd be a great match. When would you be available to go look at them? Oh, you'd show them? Well, of course I would. Let's go look. That's what they want. So give them what they want. Now, if you find some homes they like, ask if they're available to go see them now. Hey, we found 8 homes that are a good match. I see you guys are out and about now. Would you be available now? Or if the open house ends in 30 minutes, I'll be available in 30 minutes. During this time, I can schedule these showings. Would that be okay? In other words, strike while the iron is hot. And if they're good buyers and they're motivated and you've really connected with them, I would not hesitate to shut down the open house and go show. Because the purpose of an open house is to do what? Grab prospects and ultimately sell a house. Let me just say this. You might be a realtor for 40 years and never sell the actual house you're hosting open from somebody you met at the open house. It has happened. It's happened to me. It's happened to agents who've hosted my homes open, but it is extremely rare. Almost always you're going to connect with a prospect and sell them a different house. Or you're going to connect with a neighbor and you're going to list their house. Open houses create all kinds of real estate opportunities, but it's not the most obvious one that you think, I'm going to sell this home. Doesn't typically happen. So while you're setting them up to send them the houses list, say, and by the way, may I have your phone number just in case I come across some others that might be perfect for you. So you've gotten their email address. I think I skipped over that verbiage. You've created this little showing list. You're sending it to them. You get their phone number, add that to the profile. Now you own them. If you didn't get it when they came in on registration, you have it now. Name, address, name, email address, and phone number. With that information, they've entered your world. And once they enter your world, they never get out. Okay? They are yours for life. They go into your database, you tag them as Sphere, you tag them as Open House, and they start getting your 372 zillion outreaches every year. They're yours for life. So during this discussion, you may discover they have a home they need to sell. Most buyers have a home to sell. If that is within your market area, in other words, maybe it's Katy or Clear Lake or Conroe, but it's where you could actually take the listing, then I strongly suggest you say something like this. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, I've sold a lot of homes in that area. Oh, my brokerage sells in that area all the time. If you don't personally, then we got 391 others, right? Oh yeah, we sell lots of homes over there. And when I represent my clients on both the sale and the purchase of a home, I give them a break on the listing commission. Depending on the sale price, that could save you thousands of dollars. Would that be okay with you? Right? I'm not a big fan of giving our money away because I know that we work hard for the money that we earn. But I want you to understand things from the buyer's perspective. And this is also true for sellers. If we're talking about sellers, money really talks to people. And you can talk about your experience and what a great negotiator you are and how nice you are and you went to the right school and you've been doing this for 3,000 years. They hear all that as blah, 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 blah. But when you say, I could save you thousands of dollars, but you just activated every spidey sense they have. So don't hesitate. What we're trying to do is connect with these people. They never met us before. They already know 10 other people who have a real estate license. Why are they going to work with you? Because you just told them you're going to save them potentially thousands of dollars. That I just cannot stress how important something like this is to reel in somebody that you just met. You may not have to do this with your sphere. But with a stranger at an open house, you've got to use every tool on the tool belt, and money talks. So 2 questions we did not ask them, and you probably saw this. Are you working with another realtor? I guarantee you, if you went to 10 other open house classes taught by 10 other instructors, this would have been an important part of the dialogue. Probably the first thing out of your mouth, hi, my name is Susie with Abbey Realty. Are you working with a realtor? How many of y'all have been taught that before? Heard that dialogue? Banish that from your memory. Don't ever let those words come out of your mouth. They will sabotage your success, especially at an open house. If you ask somebody, are you currently working with a realtor? What are they going to say? Every single time, guaranteed, even if they never met a realtor in their life. Ladies, am I telling the truth here? You go to the mall to shop for a new dress, right? You got to have it. The big date's this Friday night, the big event. You got to have a dress. You search around, you can't find it anything. The salesperson walks up to you and says, may I help you? And what do you say? Nope, just looking. Just looking. That's the same thing a buyer is doing when they say, oh, yeah, we got a realtor. And they're not really lying because they do know 10 other realtors. And they're planning on using one of them. So don't even go there. If they are in a committed contractual relationship with another realtor, they will tell you. You don't have to ask them. So when you get to the dialogue about, well, hey, I found 8 of them that are a good match for you. Are you guys available to go take a look at them this afternoon? At that point, they will tell you, oh, that's so nice, but we're working with Joe over at XYZ Realty, okay? Now you know they have a realtor. Now, if it was me, I wouldn't even take that as the final answer. I'd say, oh, really? Have you signed a contract with Joe for him to be your exclusive representative? Well, no, but we've worked with Joe in the past. He's a good guy. I said, well, you know what? I know Joe. He is a good guy. I like him too. But he may not be available right now to show you those homes, and I am. Would you like to go see them? If they're not in a contractual relationship, it's open season. And I want an opportunity to demonstrate my value to them. If you go onto a car lot and you find the right car at the right price, and it's a nice salesperson, and you're convinced it's going to be an easy process, are you going to go shop at the other 8 dealers in town? Why would you put yourself through that trauma when you're getting everything you want right here? And that's how a buyer will perceive the situation. Hey, we may not even have to work with Joe, because last time he did drop the ball at the end. And we're not even sure what brokerage he's at right now, because we think he changed 2 years ago and we haven't gotten anything from him. We can avoid all that pain. This person seems nice. Let's go look at the houses. Okay? So unless they're in a written contract, it's open season. You act as if you are their realtor. You be their ace realtor until they tell you to stop, or somebody presents you with a buyer rep agreement that's valid and active, okay? And then the second question, are you pre-approved with a lender? I own a mortgage company. That's the truth. And I would encourage you to never ask that question. Never. Not in this situation. You know why? You haven't earned the right to. That's personal information. People's finances are one of the things that they hold closest to the vest. I've had relatives recently who needed to buy a very expensive home, a $500,000 home. And if they'd let me help them, I wouldn't have charged them. Or if they'd let me recommend them to an Abbey agent, which is what I would have suggested, they would have at least gotten a referral fee. I would have gotten a referral fee. I would have given it to them for their buyer closing costs. And they would not let me do either. You know why?
They want you to leave.
They don't want me in their business. That's exactly right. They don't want me knowing their finances. So we just meet somebody at an open house and all of a sudden we asking them, are you qualified to buy a house? Don't go there. Again, if they're pre-qualified, they'll tell you, they'll bring it up. Said, yeah, 250, oh great, yeah, what was that? We got Quicken told us we could buy up to 275, we're good, okay? Again, like they all have a realtor, if you ask them, they've probably all gone to Quicken or Rocket Mortgage. They've done something online or gone to Credit Karma to check their credit. Odds are they've done something to make them feel good about going forward in the home process. I never asked this question, and I don't think in my sales career I ever got burned by it, by not asking it. Now, I may have gotten burned and just forgotten about it. That's increasingly possible in my life. But even if I did get burned by it, I would have just chalked it up to the cost of doing business. Because if it works 9 times and I lose 1, I'll take that deal every single time. If I take 10 people out and I discover that one of them is unqualified and never going to be able to purchase a home, then so what? I'll sell the other 9. And it was time well spent. There is an appropriate time to connect them with your preferred lender. And when you do, I hope it's Robert or Kobe or Shannon, okay? One of the folks that we have right here in-house, but do it later in the process, i.e. when you're preparing to present an offer. When you're talking about the offer, then say, hey, we're gonna have to present a pre-approval letter with our offer or proof of funds. Will you be paying cash or do we need to get you set up with a lender? And by the way, you wanna be the #1 referring agent to your lender. I never gave out 3 or 4 lender recommendations, 3 or 4 landscapers, 3 or 4 title companies. I always said, I have identified the best person in the market. And when it comes to mortgage, they've got the lowest rates and fees and the best possible service. Call Bill, he'll take great care of you. You make a strong recommendation like that, they're gonna call Bill. Even if they have a Quicken pre-approval letter, even if they have a Rocket Mortgage, because you're going to say working with a local lender will often get you the best rates and fees, and it's guaranteed to get you the best service. And because I send so much business to Bill, if we need to get you some special attention, if we need a favor, we're more likely to get it than working with some corporation based out of San Francisco. Okay, so don't ask those questions. Winding down, as each guest leaves the open house, you want to make notes on their hard copy registration form or go right into your KV Core and put it right in there. If they registered on the KV Core open house app, they're already in your database. It automatically syncs their contact info into your database. You open their contact record and update your notes. You know, planning a move in 6 months, need to work on credit first, whatever it is, put those notes in there. Record everything you learned about them, even just in casual conversation. Kids, pets, what kind of wine they drink, what football team they root for, if they have a home to sell, where they live, who they work for. Follow-up suggestions for yourself. Call on Tuesday or send information on the Wedgwood golf course, which no longer exists, okay? But just make notes here, it doesn't. I had lunch with friends yesterday who live in Wedgwood, so it was on my mind, but their golf course is no longer there. So just get everything into your database before you even leave. Then pack up and clean up, place all the tools and supplies in your car, and now very importantly, go back in. This is after you've put everything in your car, so you're ready to leave. Now you go in, close all the windows and doors, and make sure everything is locked. This is especially true of windows. It's very common in Houston that people attend open houses, unlock a window in a back bedroom or something, and then come back that night to burglarize the home. They've left themselves a way in. So as part of your checklist, go check every window, check every door, make sure they're all locked. And then as you drive out of the neighborhood, pick up all your signs. You don't want to irritate the neighbors by leaving them out. That will absolutely ruin your reputation very quickly. So make sure you get everything cleaned up and accounted for. In terms of follow-up, between guests at the open house or later that evening, write thank you notes to all the attendees. You got their address either electronically or on paper. Add all your guests to KV Core. It's already been done if they were using the open house app. Hashtag the guests in KV Core as open house and Sphere. By hashtagging them that way, they're going to get all your Sphere marketing automatically and all your open house follow. You have an open house campaign built into KV Core. It'll automatically start following up with them. Set up all guests for automated searches in KV Core, and I prefer the KV Core to the HAR. They're both similar in functionality, but your HAR saved searches will expire at what time period? Do you know this? 180 days. And many people are in the market much longer than that. So you have to go back in and reset them up again. In KV Core, they never expire. So they'll either have to opt out or you go in and turn it off. For guests who are current homeowners, set them up for the monthly home valuations and market reports in KV Core. So their address is in there, but you have to open the contact record and click market report, click home valuation, and now they'll get a monthly report on the current market value of their home and real estate activity in their own neighborhood. And then follow up as appropriate with each guest according to their needs, to what you discovered. We're going to go look at homes on Tuesday or whatever it is, or you need to send them information, but make those notes and then follow up and set reminders for yourself appropriately. Don't forget to follow up with the seller and the listing agent. If this is somebody else's listing, let's just say it's a seller for a moment, because it's kind of the same follow-up. You want to call them and tell them what happened. If you don't, you know what I can guarantee you is going to happen on Monday morning? They're going to call you. So show that you're proactive in this and call them, tell them everything that happened, share your follow-up plans for promising prospects. Yeah, we had 10 families through. Most of them were not serious buyers, or they had an agent representing them. I'm following up with those agents, but the Smith family came through, and I'm going to be helping them find a home, and I'm going to do everything I can to position your home as their #1 choice and share how you're going to do that. And then if you're going to schedule a follow-up open house, do that right then, again, with the seller or the listing agent, but provide that feedback to them. It closes the loop, and sometimes sellers will wonder if you even held the open house, because they'll come back home later that night, it looks just like it did when they left. So let them know what happened. By the way, this is a little off topic, but I always like to leave a written report behind. And I would do this, I've made up cards. When I was showing homes as a buyer's agent, I would always leave a thank you card on the kitchen counter. And it would say something like, dear Mr. and Mrs. Smith or whoever, you have a lovely home, and the buyers really appreciated the opportunity to view it today. Thank you so much. And I just signed my name. That was it. Not soliciting their business, just a thank you. The sellers always appreciated that. You know why? Well, they appreciate it, first of all, because it confirmed that you were there in their home and are gone. Because many times they left their home, they made arrangements for pets, kids, whatever, and they wonder if you even showed up. That's a confirmation that you did. It was a good experience. But what Tommy said is, well, their agent didn't do that. Their agent may not have even provided them feedback on the showings they had that day. Over time, you're going to be showing homes in your geofarm because of all your marketing for buyers in your geofarm. It's going to, again, reinforce that you are the agent who's a cut above everybody else in that area, in that neighborhood. So last thing, go home, kick your feet up, get a cold drink, and relax, because you have worked hard to make this open house a success, to get people there. You're now in your follow-up process. That, ladies and gentlemen, is all you need to do. I'm not saying that like it's not much, it's a lot. But that is a strategy that will make you a fortune in open houses. And I put this in my email to you over the weekend, but there was one year, my best year, where I averaged 1 sale per open house. And I would never hold that up as a standard. I don't think I could ever repeat that again. When I coach agents, we use as a minimal performance standard on open houses a 20% conversion rate. That means for every 5 open houses, you're going to sell one. You're going to get a sale, a transaction, whether it was those homes or a new listing, or you picked up a buyer and they bought something else, you're going to get a transaction 20% of the time. Now, if you're hosting 8 open houses a month, how many transactions should you expect out of that? Closings. Almost 2 a month. The average commission in our market area is just over $8,000 on a sale. So if you're getting 1 of those a month, that's $8,000. 8 times 12 is $96,000 a year. That's almost 6 figures. And if you're at 2 or approaching 2, now you're almost at $200,000 just from hosting open houses 2 weekends, 2 days each weekend for 4 weekends a month. Okay, pay me $200,000, I'm going to do that. But I'm telling you, that's the opportunity, and that's at a 20% conversion rate. Using a strategy like this, you can drive that conversion rate significantly higher. In our 1-year 6-figure strategy, do you know how much income we attribute to open house in the course of 1 year? $25,000. $25,000 from each source: open house, sphere of influence, online leads, and geo or demo farm. Do you see how in our marketplace, 3 closings from open houses is going to get you $25,000? Just 3. And at a 20% conversion rate, which should be your minimum performance standard, that means you need to hold 15 open houses. 15 open houses to make $25,000. Can you hold 15 open houses using this strategy? If you can, then you're well on your way to 6 figures, because you can pick up 25 from the other 3 sources as well. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what I wanted to share with you today. Any questions about that? Yes, Suzanne?
What do you do if house was pending?
Yes. So that depends. If it's a pending show, if they're still interested in soliciting backup contracts, then I would go ahead and host it. Yep, sure would. Oh, by the way, if you want 2 hours of free CE credit, you just earned it. I forgot to pass out a sign-up sheet. Give me your business card, and I will get you turned in for 2 hours of CE credit for open house. And if you know your license number, write it on there. If not, we'll look it up. But if you know your license number, that'd be helpful. Yes, Suzanne?
What do you tell your
Yeah, you say I got a hot one. I got a hot one, yeah. Yep, there we go. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Frank, can I say something real quick? Can you hear me?
Oh, sorry, somebody had a question. Was that in the room or online?